What's up, everyone? So today we're gonna do a little tips and tricks video.
Yeah.
Today we are regripping Donovan's irons. He's going back right-handed. I think this is the move. I called it to start with, and then I transitioned to the left-handed being a good idea, and now we're back. But anyway, so Donovan has cut off his grips, and he's added an extension because he is a lurch, gargantuan person. So he needed about an inch extension onto his clubs. And so now I'm going to put the grips on. And I wanted to make this video because a lot of people think about putting grips on and they think it's a hard ordeal. And I felt like this is a good opportunity to make some content and show you how to do all this. So there's a couple things that you're going to need. Number one, I would recommend you having some form of drink, some sort of beverage, because this can be testing and it can be a headache sometimes. I'm going to try to make it not a headache. But today's drink, we're going with bubbly, as usual for me. And you can use whatever, water, beer, tea, whatever you feel necessary.
Sundrop.
Donovan's a Sundrop guy, so he's going to stick with that. The next thing you're going to need, obviously, is some grips, preferably not used. You can, there are various methods that you can use grips and then pull them off and be able to reuse them. I don't recommend that. I'll just buy a new grip. So he's going with some mid-size golf prides. Golf pride are probably my favorite. And you're going to need a tee, just like a normal golf tee. Preferably not one that's a huge size as far as girth, but just one regular one. Then you're going to need some grip solvent. You can buy this stuff at Dick's Sporting Goods most of the time. It's made by the Golf Works. It's just grip solvent. I don't know if you can see that. This stuff is a quart. It's about $4. And so pretty cheap, not too expensive. And then you need a thing of double-sided tape. Again, this is made by Golf Works. I think a roll of this is like maybe $10 or $11.
Yeah. Something
that matters. So if you took this to like Dick's Sporting Goods or a PGA Superstore or whatever, it's going to cost you a little bit to fix this. It's going to cost you a little bit to regrip your clubs. It's very easy and you can do it yourself. So once you have your clubs stripped, which these are already stripped, but the way you do that is you just take a blade, like a normal box cutter blade, be careful with it, start at the bottom of the grip and just make an incision like that, and then literally just pull the grip off. And you'll see on the bottom or on the actual shaft, generally there's old leftover tape. And so essentially sometimes it'll peel off really easy and quick. Other times you kind of have to get a blade and scrape it. And so the only problem when that comes about is if you're using graphite shafts like Donovan has. It can be kind of a pain in the butt because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm scratching my shafts. Yeah. It's really not a big deal. Try not to just dig deep into it, but you can take a blade and just gradually get that stuff off of. And you can actually, I think, pour this stuff on there.
Yeah.
And it loosens it up a little bit to start with, and then you can just kind of scrape it off and it works good. And so once you have all the residue and stuff off your grip, or at least pretty good, then you can go to regripping. And so again, grips, a tee, your solvent, your tape, and then generally when you buy this tape and the solvent, it comes with one of these things. I like to use Vice just because it helps hold the club in place, and this helps you not crush your shaft and also not to mess it up, especially when it's graphite. So you just kind of throw it in the vise as such. I like my golf club to start pretty much straight upright, and I'll get it tight enough where it's not going to move around unless I actually force it to. And then we'll go from there. And I'm going to slide this down so you can see it a little bit. Okay, so here's the grip. Now, from here, just for reference, you'll take your grip and you'll put it to where it's going to go. And you can kind of tell, okay, that's where the grip's going to go. Just kind of put your finger there for reference. Take your double-sided tape, and then you kind of just want to start about right on line with it. And it doesn't matter if it goes a little long. You don't want to leave it short just in case you pull the grip up a little bit. But I like to go just a hair long with it, or right on the money. And then you can either take your box cutter after that and cut the tape off, but it actually peels off pretty quick and easy. And so from there, what you'll do is just take one side of it, which is this, and just slowly wrap it and make sure you try to get all the air bubbles out. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just snug enough to then flip it over to the exposed side and then do the same thing with the other side. And once you get all of that done, and you get that pretty snug, don't bend the top or the bottom. I'll show you how to do this in a minute. So you might have a little bit of extra. So I have about 1/2 inch extra hanging off the end where I ripped it. But from there, all you're going to want to do is take your fingernail and go to the bottom. And sometimes it's good and it'll just pull off, but other times you kind of have to pinch it and peel it back to where you see where the tape is stuck to the shaft. And then what I do is I take one side and just completely peel it off and make sure that at least the sticky side that you see right here is in place where it needs to go. Again, if it's got a few air bubbles, it's not a big deal because you're not going to be able to feel it under the rubber or the grip. And so once you do that, I literally just take the end that has the extra and get it to the shaft, and you just pull straight down and it comes off. And then I'll just go through and just rub the edges where there's a gap in it. So like on the back of the club, you'll see right there, there might be a little bit of gap in the tape. Not a big deal, just make sure it's pressed down against the shaft. And then with this extra, you can literally just put it into a cone like that and then just shove it down in the hole of the shaft, and that's all you got to do. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't matter that this tape is longer than right here where I ripped it. That's kind of where we're going to go from there. And then the next thing that you're going to work on is putting the solvent and the grip on. One of the things that is messy about this whole process is that the solvent will come out of the grip eventually, and you're going to do a little pouring method that I'll show you. So that's what partially this T is for. So on the bottom of grips, there's usually like a little hole, and I just plug the T far enough in there to where nothing's going to fall out. And then generally I'd have like a trash can or something here. I'm just outside, and so I'm sitting on the back of the truck right here, and I can make sure that it's not going to pour all over the back of my truck. So I'm going to have it like that. So take your solvent. Sometimes they come with a little funnel nozzle thing. I don't know if Donovan just left this one out or whatnot, but we make it work either way. And so you just take the grip and just try to be, you don't have to fill the whole grip up, but I'd say maybe about like this much. And then I'll show you what to do afterwards. Just kind of be generous with it because this stuff will stick really quick. And so the more solvent that you have, the less sticky it's going to get quick. It's kind of how I figured to do all this. And your paper towels come in handy for this process because that solvent can get all over your hands, and then you don't have a good grip on things. And so there is solvent in here, and then what you want to do is at the bottom of the grip, put your thumb over it just to block it from going out. And then I actually turn it upside down and just move it around a little bit to just get everything on the inside coated. And then I'll take the club, and it is upright. And then I'll just pour this over top of the exposed tape, and then I'm just going to shove the grip on in alignment with where I want it to go. So be mindful of that before you go shoving this on to the shaft, because it could be a big issue when it comes to that. And keep the solvent nearby too, because sometimes you don't put enough in there and you may need it to just wet it a little bit more before you pour it on. So just make sure all this is coated, and you'll see me shove it on here in just a minute. So I just take this and gently pour this all over the grip. Just make sure it's all wet. And then alignment, I shove the grip on. And then once you know it's on there and it's as far down as you can push it this way, I'll pull the T out, and you'll see it shoot out at the end. And then I'll take the club out of the vise. And this is a part that's going to be kind of hard for you to see, but I have the club like I would hit it I'm going to stick it straight down like this so I can look down and make sure the grip is in alignment, head to the logo on the grip. And so, and another thing I'm going to do is make sure that the grip is all the way down on the shaft. So with my backhand, I'm going to push down on the shaft, and on the bottom end of the grip, I'm going to pull up on it. So I know that it's not stretched out. It's the way the grip was intended to be. And then I'm going to align it the way it's supposed to go. And you only have a little bit of time to be able to do this. It doesn't dry like this, but it's harder. It's a lot stickier and tackier than you would think. And so it's not going to move around a ton, but it moves around enough for you to kind of adjust it microly just to be able to get it to where you want it to. And so once I think that it's ready, you just take it and let it sit for a couple hours. I'd recommend at least 4 or 5 hours. Some people tell you let them sit overnight. If you have that option, I would definitely do that just to make sure. And there you have it. New grips on new clubs. There you go, man.